اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the practical session of lesson number 2. So in this practical session, what we are going to do, inshallah, quickly review what we have learned and then go and share with you the basic information you need or the basic knowledge you need to start forming nominal sentences. Not only that, we will also learn descriptive phrases. These have been all explained to you in the introductory session, mapping our journey, and also go and try to distinguish between a nominal sentence and a descriptive phrase. They look almost identical. And lastly, inshallah ta'ala, I will put some Quranic text in front of you and you will be able to recognize whether that is a sentence or a phrase and also translate correctly. So we have a lot to do. Let's begin. Let's begin by reviewing what we know so far. We know that an ism in Arabic is one of the three parts of speech. Every word in the Quran, every word in the Arabic language will either be an ismun, fi'lun or harfun. Now about the ism, we began by looking closer at it and we identified there are four properties that every ism will have in Arabic. The first one is definiteness, whether that ism is referring to something specific or non-specific. So we have D for definite, which is specific, I for indefinite, which is non-specific. Then in terms of gender, we already found out that there are only two in Arabic. There's either masculine or feminine. There is no neutral gender in the Arabic language. In terms of number, we know that there are three. It's either singular, dual, or plural. So every ism in Arabic will refer to either something which is singular, or it could be dual, or it could be plural. As far as Iraab is concerned, we know that there are only three, and it is either rafa, nasab, or jar. I'm not going to translate these terms, but as far as definiteness and the others, we're going to translate, inshallah, into English because our goal is not to understand terminology, but more what is going on. And there is not really a good translation for rafa, nasab, or jar in the English language. So for definite, we've done also the categories, which we'll look at briefly. So definite word is something referring to something specific. So if I say, for example, in Arabic, let's use baytun, house, a house could be any house, but if I say al-baytu, it will become definite. Now it will be the house. So very simple way of converting a common noun into a definite noun. Number and gender we're going to leave for later lessons, but for Iraab we know Muslimun, Musliman, Muslimin. Let's use a different word so it will give us a chance to practice more vocabulary. So mu'minun means a believer. Okay, a believer, and that is in the rafa status. But in the nasab status it will be mu'minan, and in the jar status it will be mu'minin. So mu'minun, mu'minan, mu'minin. You can see that, alhamdulillah, that there are three Arabs, and that is how they decline. As of course, I bored you with a repeated reminder, this is only for 85% of the isms. So this is very, very important as far as Arab is concerned. And this is a summary of what we have learned so far. The property of definiteness, there are only 7 categories of isms in Arabic that are definite. The first one is a proper noun. Proper noun, I'll give you an example. For example, Hamid. So name of a specific person, place, or a thing are proper nouns, and we'll write them in the rafa form for default purposes, inshallah. So we have proper noun, Hamidun. And then we have pronouns. Pronouns, again, I'm sure you know in English, he, she, etc. So pronouns, I've asked you to remember 3. Huwa, which means he. Anta, which means you. And ana, which means I. So we've got 3 pronouns here. He, huwa, anta, you, ana, I. The third category is a word made definite by al. So we're going to call it definite by al. Definite by adding al to it. So example, we'll use kitab, which means a book. So normally you write kitab, let's say in the rafa status, kitabun. Kitabun, a book. But I want to say the book. So all I do is add al in front, al, and I must take the tanween away. So I'm left with al-kitabu. The fourth category, we're going to call them pointing words. Pointing words. In English, they're called demonstrative nouns, words that you point with this, that, etc. And we asked you to remember two examples if you recall. And we have hadha, which means this, and we have dhalika, which means that. So we have hadha, this, and dhalika, that. So these are the two I asked you to remember. As far as the categories 5, 6, and 7, we're going to leave them for now. We will have dedicated lesson later on once we've developed a bit more Arabic, inshallah. Again, if you recall, I asked you to memorize 3 sentences. Ja'a Muslimun, a Muslim came. Ra'aytu Musliman, I saw a Muslim. Sallamtu ala Muslimin. This gives you the 3 Iraab, Rafa, Nasab, and Jar, and also tells you that Rafa is when it's the doer, Nasab is when it's the object, and Jar if it's coming after a word like ala. In these 2 examples, let's do that inshallah for practice. So instead of using Muslim, let's use a different word, believer. So I want to say a believer came. So in Arabic, I will write Ja'a Mu'min, and I have to say Mu'minun. Why? Rafa status, because it is the doer. Ra'aytu, I saw a believer. Now the word for believer, of course, is Mu'min. Mu'min, but it needs to be the object. So if it's the object, it should be mu'minan. And I gave salam to a believer will be salamtu ala mu'minin. Salamtu ala mu'minin. So ja'a mu'minun, a believer came. Ra'aytu mu'minan, I saw a believer. Salamtu ala mu'minin, I gave salam to a believer. Now instead of saying a believer, I want to say the believer. Or I give you another word here, man. I'm using different vocabulary just to get you practiced with different words, inshallah. So we have ja'a. Ja'a means he came, the man. Now the word for man in Arabic is rajul. So let's put that in first. Rajulun. Okay. Rajulun will be in the default Rafa status. But if I want to say the man, I have to put al in front. Al. If I put al, it cannot have tanween. So it becomes ar-rajulu, because this is shamsi. Let's put the shadda in as well for precision. So we have ar-rajulu. Ja ar-rajulu, the man came. I want to say I saw the man. The same principle will be the here. Rajulan, if it was I saw a man, but if I saw the man, I will have to say al in front again. Ar-rajula. Ar-rajula. I saw the man. I gave salam to the man will be again, I'll copy the word just to save time, inshallah. Same principle, and it will be al-rajuli. Al-rajuli, because it is definite. Now we got the full practice here of the 3 different Iraab, Rafa, Nasab, and Jar, and also by indefinite example and a definite example. That is the culmination of what we have done so far. I hope and pray, inshallah ta'ala, that you are able to recall all of this. Alhamdulillah, we are only on lesson number 2. Using our basic knowledge that we have acquired so far of definiteness and Iraab, we're going to start forming our own sentences. Not only that, I'm going to share with you the most basic rules of forming sentences so you can start forming them yourself. All you need is a little bit of vocabulary. So let's first go over the rules, and then inshallah we'll practice forming sentences together. And after that, you can use that same knowledge to start translating sentences from Arabic to English, as well as forming sentences yourself. Now here I have a sentence in English. Hamid is a teacher. In Arabic, it's Hamidun Muallimun. If you go back and recall what I shared with you in the mapping or journey session, in the introductory session, I said that there are only 2 types of sentences in Arabic. One that begins with an ism, called jumla ismiya, or a nominal sentence. We're going to call it a noun sentence. One that begins with a fi'l, called jumla fi'liya or verbal sentence, or we can call them verb sentences. Now, the basic rule for forming a nominal sentence and noun sentence is that it should begin with an ism. It will have two parts. The first one, subject, which in Arabic is called mubtada. And the second part is called predicate in English. Predicate in Arabic, it is called khabar. So these two parts coming together form the sentences in Arabic as well as in English. In Arabic, they're called mubtada and khabar. In order for a noun or an ism to qualify as to be mubtada, it should have two very important qualities. First of all, as far as definiteness is concerned, it should be definite. As far as Iraab is concerned, it must be in the rafa status. In order for a noun to qualify to be a khabar, an ism, it should be indefinite. And it must be in the rafa status. So you can see from what we've learned so far, the recognition of definiteness and Iraab is absolutely critical in forming sentences. So if we look at our English and Arabic example now, the first word we have in Arabic is hamidun. So that is our subject, that is our mubtada, that is what we're introducing in our conversation, hamidun. And it should have two qualities. Number one, it should be definite. Well, I'm sure by now, hamidun, you know, is definite. Why? Because it is a proper noun. And second thing you know about it is hamidun, not hamidan or hamidin. It has the tanween. It has a tanween at the end, hamidun. Okay, so it is in the rafa status. So it fulfills the condition of it being a mubtada. Without these two conditions, it would not be the mubtada. And if I put hamidan or hamidin, it will be completely wrong. Now let's look at the second word. We have muallimun. Muallimun. Now muallimun is not definite. It is indefinite. How do you and I know that it is indefinite? Number one, it is not a proper noun because it means a teacher, could be any teacher. It is not a pronoun like he, him, no, none of those. And number three, it does not have al. So there is no al there to indicate that it's definite. Number four is not a pointing word. So therefore it must be indefinite. Remember, only those 7 categories are definite. Second thing you should be able to recognize instantly, muallimun is also in the rafa status. And therefore, I've got these two nouns which qualify with the conditions of being definite and rafa for it to become mubtada, indefinite and rafa for it to become khabar. Now, the other important rule as regards English is concerned, English speaking student concerned, there is no word in Arabic for is, or are. They do not exist in the Arabic language. So you will not find these words in the Arabic language. So when translating from Arabic to English, you will put is, or are between the subject and the predicate, and you will use the rules of English language. It has nothing to do with Arabic. So please remember that there is no word in the Arabic language for is, or are. You put them between the subject and the predicate. The properties of an ism are playing an essential role in forming the sentences. So the subject is definite, the predicate is indefinite. The subject must be in the rafa status and the predicate must be in the rafa status. I'm sure you're going to start asking, what about gender and number? Simply for now, all you need to note is that they match, or they should match. So what I mean by that is, if my subject is masculine, the predicate should be also masculine, and vice versa. If the subject is singular, the predicate should also be singular, and the same case for dual and plural. And that's all you need to know as far as forming sentences is concerned. Now let's translate these 4 sentences from English to Arabic. I have here 4 sentences for you. The first one, Zaid is a scholar. So let's write Zaid down first. Now, in order for the word Zaid to be the subject, it needs to be a definite. Now we know Zaid is a proper noun, so it's definite. But it must be also in the rafa status. So I have to say Zaidun. Please note that, inshallah. And the word for scholar in Arabic is alim. I've given the words in the left hand side. You can see them, inshallah. Alim. Now, the word alim needs to be indefinite, which is it is. It could be any scholar, so it's indefinite, does not have al or fulfill any of my other condition. But it must be in the rafa status. So, Zaydun alimun. You can see now, alhamdulillah, I fulfill the condition. So I translate that. Again, there is no word for is in the Arabic language. I don't need a word for a either. Now, the next sentence I have is, you are wise. Now, if you recall the word for you in Arabic, the word for you was anta, you. And again, I mentioned that these are definite because they are pronouns. Second thing, they are always in the rafa status because they're subject pronouns. And pronouns are not words that have tanween and others, they're special words. Now, I want to say something about you that is wise. Now, the word for wise in Arabic is hakim, but that is not enough. That word now needs to be in the rafa status. So I will have to say, anta hakimun, you are wise. Next sentence I need to say, the student is pious. Now, the word for student in Arabic is talib. Now, I cannot put talib there. It has to be definite. So because it is a common noun, I have to put al in front to make that definite. So it'll be at-talibu, because it must also be in the rafa status. So at-talibu, the student. And what about the students? Pious. So the word for that is salih, and needs to be in the rafa salihun. I hope this is easy, inshallah ta'ala, and is making sense for you. So we made the third sentence. The fourth sentence we need to translate from from English to Arabic is, this is a mosque. Now, the word for this in Arabic, I'm sure you remember. Hada, this. And the word for mosque in Arabic is masjid. And as you know already, the word this is always definite because it's a pointing word, and we're going to say it is rafa because it is in the subject box. Masjidun. Hada masjidun. This is a mosque. Now, I hope you can see how easy it is to form Arabic sentences. You don't have to worry about is, or a, or a. These are all based upon the beauty of the English language, which you should know, and you can translate back and forth. So these are the basic rules of forming Jumla Ismiya in the Arabic language. I hope and pray, inshallah, that you've done these exercises with me and that you can see those 4 properties coming alive. It's now time for you to do some exercises, inshallah. I've got in front of you 3 English sentences. You can read them yourself, inshallah. Allah is forgiving. Shu'aib alayhi salam is a prophet. And Hamid is a sheikh. Now, I've given you the spelling of the words on the left-hand side for the ones you need, and the proper nouns, I've written them on the right-hand side for you. So using the rules I've shared with you, please translate these from English to Arabic. Pause the video before continuing. So welcome back. I hope you did the exercises. So let's do the first one. Allah is forgiving. Again, the word Allah is a proper noun. We need to put at the end to make it into the rafa status. Allahu. Allahu. The word for forgiving is Ghafurun. Well done. It has to be in the rafa status. Shu'aib, again, we need to make that into the rafa status, alayhi salam. So we put Shu'aibun, exactly the same as Muhammadun. And we need to say that is a prophet. The word for prophet is Nabi. And it will be Nabiyun. I hope this is clear, inshallah. And Hamid is a sheikh, a scholar. And so the spelling for Hamid needs to be Hamidun, because it needs to be or must be rafa, and it will be Shaykhun. Again, you can see very simple 3 nominal sentences in all of the 3 examples. The mubtada, the subject, is a proper noun. Few more for you to practice. Here we're going to form some sentences, translate from English to Arabic, and you have the English sentences here. Now, vocabulary you won't need because I've chosen simple words, inshallah. So first one, he is a Muslim, you are a Muslim, I am a Muslim, and it is a book. Again, remember, in Arabic there is no neutral gender, so the word huwa means he. It can also mean it. So please translate the following English sentences that you can see on the screen from English to Arabic. Pause the video before continuing. So I hope you've done the exercise. Let's give you the answers. He is a Muslim is very simple. It will be huwa for he, and the word Muslim must be Muslimun. So he is a Muslim. Now again, please note pronouns are always definite. I've already mentioned, and these are in the rafa status. You are a Muslim. Anta Muslimun. You are a Muslim. I am a Muslim will be Ana Muslimun. Now again, please note here, the reason I've chosen these examples, you can see there is no word for is, am, or are in the Arabic language. So very simple structure, very easy to translate from English to Arabic. You ignore is, am, and are, and you put the two parts together based on the rules I shared with you. It is a book. Now the word for it in English, in Arabic, because there's no neutral gender, is also huwa. Huwa means he or it. Okay, and then we can translate that book is kitab. It'll be kitabun. Again, recall the rules, and you'll see that I'm following the rules that are set, and you can now start forming your own sentences using huwa, anta, ana, and so on for many, and all you need is some vocabulary. Now we're going to translate some sentences where the subject needs to be definite by al. Please take a look at the English sentences here. The first one, Islam is a deen or a way of life. The Quran is truth. And third one, the knowledge is light. All the vocabulary you need is there. You might find the word Islam difficult to spell at this stage, so I put that there also for you. So pause the video, complete the task before continuing. I hope you've done the task. The word Islam needs to be in the rafa status, so al-Islamu. And deen, we've got the spelling there for you. So deen needs to be also in the rafa status, deenun. I hope this is easy, inshallah. And the spelling of Quran should be like this. Al-Qur'anu, Al-Qur'anu, because it needs to be in the rafa. And the word for truth is haqqun. Okay, Al-Qur'anu, haqqun. The Quran is truth. And third example, the knowledge. Now, ilm is knowledge, but I have to put al in front. Al-ilmu nurun. Again, I remind you, the basic rules, we followed all of them, forming three very beautiful sentences. Islam is a deen, a way of life. It is not a part-time affair. Al-Quran, the Quran is truth. Again, this is where we get our guidance from, the book of Allah Azza wa Jal. And of course, reminder for you and me, all of us, that knowledge is light. So let us all go forward towards the light, inshallah ta'ala, beginning with the very basics of the sentence making. Lastly, now let's form some sentences using pointing words. I've given you the spelling of the words there as well. Mosque, you should already know how to spell that, alhamdulillah. So using that, simply put the word mosque there and translate. Pause the video, complete the task before continuing. I pray that you've done it. Very easy one. Hada, this. Masjidun. Has to be masjidun because it is the predicate. Dhalika baytun. House. Okay, so you can see very simply, alhamdulillah, we can also form sentences using pointing words. A quick review of the basic rules of forming nominal sentences, jumla ismiya, noun sentences. Number one, it begins with an ism. Number two, it has two parts, subject, which is called mubtada in Arabic, and the subject should be definite in the rafa status. And the second part is called khabar, predicate in English. Again, it should be indefinite and in the rafa status. There is no word in the Arabic language for is, am, or are. You need to put them in between the mubtada, the subject, and the khabar, predicate, depending upon the rules of the English language. That is all the rules you need. as far as learning to start using Jumla Ismiya, nominal sentences in Arabic. Inshallah, I'm confident you should now be able to recognize them and translate them correctly from Arabic to English. الذي علم بالقلم